Have you heard about assessment center?
Not
Has
really.
anybody been in the army in your, in the army? Has anybody been in an army? Or
I was not in army, but I was in NCC.
Anybody
so
in
I have
your
done
family or so? Huh? No. Okay. Have
yeah,
you
in
heard
family I have
something
my
about?
son.
Have you heard something about the service selection board in the army ever?
No.
Heard of it.
Okay. So just to just to show you, just to bring to your notice, there is something called, we have an defense forces, we have army, we have navy, and then we have air force. So they're all called defense forces. There's a very stringent selection, for these in the army and air force and navy, for them to be selected as officers. It's called, there's a board called Service Selection Board, SSB.
Okay.
Now, I believe globally, our Indian Service Selection Board is one of the best processes where they go through a very stringent, robust process. When do you call it a very good process? When you find that when an officer, whether he is recruited in Air Force or Navy or Air Force, he's selected and he's supposed to be doing certain work, certain roles, certain responsibilities, and is able to deliver that very well. Then you will say, hey, this process of selection is very good because the outcome or the yield which you get is very good, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now let me just take you to this quick board. Okay, it starts with the first round is, guys, it is a 3 level. The first round is one UPS exam.
Yes.
Okay. UPS exam. Several thousands of people give this exam. Okay, thousands of people give this. Then after this UPS exam, then it is followed by 3 days of 3 to 4 days. Sorry. Of selection process. Okay? Selection process. Then you have a okay. So what do you have? You have an UPS exam, then followed by you have 3 to 4 days of selection process, and then you have a medical test. Okay. In this first round, typically several thousands of people give this exam. Now, in this exam, I talked about typically the iceberg model. Okay. So typically, there are certain minimum knowledge and skills required, which they are tested through an exam, in maths, etc., etc. So they are tested. Now, after this exam, say about 10%, maybe 5 to 10%. 5 to 10% are selected for this selection process. Okay. And after that, then you have a medical exam. So whoever passes in the medical exam, typically, the defense forces require certain kind of parameters for the medical, including vision and lot of other things. So then they pass, they need a pass on this, and then they are selected. Now, what we are actually interested in, these 3 to 4 days of selection process, what they are going to go through. All right. So, the first day. On the first day, typically what they will have, there are certain tests. They could be verbal reasoning. Okay. Then they could be some kind of a numerical stuff. Then they could also be, analytical. All right. So most of them are typically individual. One second. Yeah. So most of them are individual. So what are they now getting down into? Looking at some of their, much more in terms of skills as well. And I wanted to add here, now I'll put a T, A, T. They have introduced another psychometric test or psychological test called TAT. The full form of TAT is what? Anybody? Anybody who has an idea?
I know AIT, but I am not aware about first T. Analysis test, that much I know. But
So I
T
will put
stand
it
for
here. I will put it here.
what? Theme, okay, theme. Thematic, okay.
A thematic apperception test. Okay? Thematic. Now,
Okay.
so you understand what is verbal. They will be giving you all those verbal tests, numerical tests, analytical tests. Let me give you a little more in terms of TAT. In fact, please remind me, I will send the TAT pictures. It will take a long time, so I don't want to do that. I will send those pictures. You can do it now. So they will give you thematic apperception test. What does this test contain? There are about 5 to 10 pictures. Okay. Then for 30 seconds, I will show you the picture. After that, only 30 seconds. Then I'll pull it down and you will be given just about 1 or 2 minutes. You have to write a story. Then another picture, you have to write a story. Another picture, write a story. So like that, I'll be showing you 3 or 4 pictures. You may say, what is this pictures and what is the story and why are they doing this? So what does it mean? They're trying to understand from the story certain themes and trying to understand the iceberg below the water, submerged. What are your motives in terms, what are your needs in terms of achievement, in terms of power, in terms of affiliation, etc. through these stories. Okay. So what I'm trying to get is, when you're going through this selection board, all these candidates go through a very rigorous first day, which has a lot of exercises. Okay. Then the second day, what happens? All those who have been selected, maybe 50% is out again. Then again, they go through another psychological test, another, what is it? Maybe analytical test, logical, etc. Then on the third day again, people who have completed successfully, they go through group discussions, leaderless group exercises, command tasks, lot of exercises. Why do they go through all this? Because an officer not only has to be a follower, listening to this boss's commands, etc., but he also has to be a leader. So right from how does he manage himself, what are his motives, what are his traits, to leader-like qualities, all are evaluated, assessed in simulating situations where they can showcase. And then there are group officers who will observe everything. And that's how this selection board tests are so stringent that when you select just 5 or 10%, they are able to predict that these people will be good officers. So why do you go through? So my contention here now is, let me just, yeah. Okay, 1 second. So I'll just stop sharing. So why do we go through this stringent, why do the candidates go through this stringent test? Because you want the predictability has to be high. And how do they go through? A series of simulation exercises. When I say simulation, something you do, which is almost similar to situations or problems you face in your work life. So that is called. Now, since you haven't even heard about assessment center, going by the process. So what do you understand then? What is an assessment center?
Yeah, I think what Vilima was sharing, same thing I did in Surat when I was hiring for the ONIDA, Merck India. We wanted to hire the electrical and electronic engineers. So yes, we were having given same public advertisement, and we got 2,500 people in front of hotel, and we got surprised. The response what we were expecting 300 to 400 people may turn up, but the total number was 2,000 plus, and we supposed to hire 300 only. That was our budget for Gujarat actually, because we want from all state. Then we got surprised to how to deal with this 2,500 people, and to be very honest, we were not well prepared that time for this crowd. And 1 and 2 hours we struggle now what to do, because huge line in front of the hotel. Even police came in between. They were not informed. We will be using such a big event in a place, and police was not kept informed, and we had some licensing work over there. We helped them to understand the things, and thereafter we did all the permission part also, because if more than X number of people are gathering at one place at a time, it's a big law and order question also on the road, because the local authority needs to be informed. So that was the first learning in interview also. If this kind of a big crowd is going to come, so we need to align the local licensing officer as well. We did that, and same thing then we have decided let us go for the mass test. So on this spot we decided one test format, and we took the test. Thereafter we went for the assessment again based on the personal interview immediately, because we set up 3-4 table for that, and based on the percentages of qualifications we have segregated, and end of the day we are able to, we took 3 days actually, but it's one of the on a 1 day end of the day we came to know almost 700 to 800 people were qualified, and thereafter 3 days we did a justice to the process.
Yep.
More or less same thing we did that time.
Okay. So Anish, if you actually related a process, even Vilma related. Now the learning from this is assessment center. So if you can say that it is actually a very comprehensive, standardized procedure, right? So what is very, very important in an assessment center is that you're creating a standard, right? How are you creating a standard?
Right.
By first of all, understanding that, hey, what is that I need to assess? Okay. So it starts with understanding, do we have the kind of competency mapping or competencies what I need to assess? Then I'm preparing a set of exercises, tools, techniques, okay, to create certain kind of a standard, and then I'm assessing them. So multiple techniques are used in an assessment center to evaluate those competencies. So it is so different from just an interview selection process, because as here, if you can see, an assessment center is a process wherein an applicant is assessed to determine the suitability of a particular role. I said by using what? Many techniques. In an interview, what are we using? Just a interview, right? When I'm selecting by using an interview, I'm saying, okay, fine. Do you know about this? What have you done? Everything I'm asking. So therefore, the candidate has the opportunity to say yes for everything and respond in a way saying that, yes, I know. But do you as an interviewer have the ability to test the width, the depth of really, does she have the right motive? Or does she have the right kind of a value? Or like Minu saying she's building up the culture. So do they carry the right kind of a values? So just by using a interview tool, you are not able to evaluate. So you are evaluating for that particular role by using a variety of testing techniques, variety of constructs are used, and for the candidate to demonstrate their skills or behaviors. So that what is very, very critical in assessment center, I as an assessor am observing that person, so that I'm able to then record and see, hey, yes, this is the right kind of person. So to put it in a short term, assessment center is a procedure, or a where you are using comprehensive standardized procedures to assess through multiple techniques, evaluating for various purposes. Okay. So if you have noticed in your process, in Velma's process, so there is something called a set of tools and techniques they have used, so that you are actually arriving at the selection of a right person. That's very, very important. So let us understand first of all, so what are some of the elements, what is some elements in an assessment center? So as you have rightly said, let me just show you this first. Typically an assessment center, can you see this? When I talk about an assessment center, so typically what will you have? You will have a list of competencies. So that means what? It starts with a competency map, right? Now this competency map could be for an individual role. Like Vilma stated, we have to recruit certain customer care executives maybe, or certain entry level BPO workers. So they would have what? A list of competencies. Now here if you see, these are the list of competencies. What are they? Motivation, analytical skills, service orientation, relationship building, planning and prioritizing, oral communication. So say for example, there's a customer care executive. He needs all these 6 competencies. Now I need to select this customer care executive having the presence of these. Now how am I going to select them? So I have to have certain tools and techniques. Now you tell me, what are some of the tools and techniques we have used in this assessment center? Both in any of you, Ninu or Anish, just to make it more lively. Yeah. We use some tech tool called Intray, right? We use a tool called presentation skills. We use something called OBT, outbound training. We use something called role play, a case study. Okay. So what does it mean? In an assessment center, what will you have? You will have various tools. So just let me give you a list of tools first. A list of tools could be at an individual level, it could be at a group level, or we could also use psychometric tests. Okay. At an individual level, one of the tools we can use is Intray exercise. Have you heard of Intray exercise? Anybody? Both of you?
No.
No.
What is Intray? You have come in the morning to the office. Okay. In your inbox, you'll have a list of mails, right? You are a manager HR. So your boss will say, he will give you a list of 20 things or 30 things for today. Now it depends on, you have certain time also. So it depends on how are you going to complete all those mails. You might be doing some yourself, you might be delegating some, or you might be actually putting them off for another day based on the urgency, right? Some may need immediate attention. Some may need, they're urgent, but they may need attention at a later point of time, right? So how are you going to prioritize time? How are you going to plan? So essentially, when you're giving an Intray exercise, what do you think are you checking for? What kind of competences will you be checking for? You know, it will be interesting. Think.
Ability to prioritize.
Absolutely. That means prioritize. How will you plan? How will you look at your time management, right? Scheduling, delegation, or are you the kind you will do everything yourself? So because you are given a limited time and you have to finish all the things. So how are you going to plan? How are you going to delegate? How are you going to prioritize everything? Very clear. You will be getting a short exercise on entry. You know what do you do? How do you test knowledge and skills? Written tests. If you want to test something like a PC skills, what will you do? I'm
We
recruiting
set
somebody for
some
a
questions.
payroll. Okay, I want that guy to actually work on Excel and spreadsheets. So will I actually grill him understanding only through questions, or I have any other way of doing it?
Yeah, some exercise definitely we give.
I will tell him, hey
or
boy,
we will ask
this is a computer, this is a dummy payroll spreadsheet, create a spreadsheet. I want to see how he is doing it. How can he operate? I'm actually hiring
Correct.
a person for an L&D content development or an instructional designer. Will I keep asking questions, or will I give her a topic and say, okay, fine, you know, you need to make something on a train the trainer. Now please create content development for it. How will you design a program? Right? So when I see how she
Right.
has done it,
Right.
the actual work. So knowledge through questions or written tests to understand the depth of the knowledge in that area, subject matter. Skill tests are typically given to see you want to hire a driver. Will you ask him questions on the driving, or will you give him the car and say, okay, guy, now drive and show me how you drive? No? Your life is at risk. Huh? He may be an excellent, he'll say, I'm having this certificate, I'm having this. Will that do? Or will you say, no, you first drive and show me how you are? No? Okay.
Absolutely
Physical
right.
ability tests, if it is needed. You know how they are. You are actually, you know, in army, when you go through the selection board, they make you do a lot of physical ability tests because on the job it is required, right? Written exercises, you know. What is role play? Anybody heard of a role play?
Yes, when
Yeah,
you
we do
provide,
some exercises.
yeah, when there is a situation and you have to act it out.
Does it help role plays? This is the most common tool we use for role plays. Vilma, you want to give a little more data on that? Any example?
Yes, tell me, what's the question?
Role play, role play.
Okay,
Your
role play.
favorite role plays.
Role plays, first of all, you have to be clear as to for which competency you are trying to assess them or observe them through a particular role play, right? Suppose if you want somebody to you are assessing on team as a team player, you want good team players, you know, as a part of the team. So you would give a role play and see how they are interacting. Give a certain case study and see how they are interacting. Are they supporting each other, or they are pulling each other, right? Or they are arguing during the discussion, or they are supporting each other or complementing the answers of each other or their team members, right? Based on that, you can make an assessment. Can they be really a good team player, or just, trying to bully each other, or trying to make themselves, position that they are higher, or they are better than the other in terms of their responses, rather than supporting each other. So some kind of assessment, when they do a discussion in a role play, they get to know.
Okay, well, let's quickly do a small role play. Okay, now I'm an employee working in Ninu's organization. All right, huh? So you see that my productivity has actually slumped, and I'm not coming regularly. Absenteeism very high, etc. Okay, so Ninu is a counselor. Now I'm hiring a person, a counselor. And what am I testing? I'm testing for empathy. All right. So, can empathy be evaluated just by asking Ninu? Okay, we are actually hiring for counselors you have a great master's degree in sociology, this, that, and you're very good. But I actually want to know how much of empathy can she do. So that's a real situation. So I want to put her into a role play and see how she can do. Okay. So Ninu will quickly do that. So I'm having a problem, as I told you. This is the brief I've given you, that you are a counselor and my productivity is very low. The HR manager says, "Hey Ninu, you are a counselor. Now you need to actually counsel her, understand her, and see what's the problem. She's a top performer, but suddenly I find that her productivity has gone down. Absenteeism is very high. So yes, start Ninu."
Hi, Nirmala. We just wanted to discuss about your current performance. Can you tell me if there's anything that's troubling you? As you can see from the quarterly feedback, it looks like your performance has not been as the previous quarters. Is there anything that's bothering you? Anything that's affecting the performance? Anything that you need? Any support?
Okay. Oh, well, I don't think there's anything bothering me. Just, a matter of, I mean, my performance has not been up to the mark recently. But I don't think there's anything bothering me,
Okay. Are there any reasons, Nirmala? Is there anything at work, anything that's making you uncomfortable? Are the tasks okay? You're not able to meet the deadlines. So, any reasons for that?
Oh my God, deadlines. I think I'm 90% of the deadlines I'm meeting. Who said that I'm not meeting deadlines? I think it's just a question of trying to bring me down, but I don't think there's anything like that. I can see that very clearly. Okay, I'll stop with this. Okay, just see. So that means I will say, hey, but Ninu, no, hey, she didn't even develop the trust. She hasn't even done any ice breaking. She didn't even do any rapport. Suddenly she's coming, hey, you haven't done up to the mark. It's not there. I'm just trying to tell you, role play is very effective. For example, you will be actually, for example, I want to see customer service orientation. So what I will do a role play. What I will do, I'll put in the assessment center a role play, playing that I'm a disgruntled customer who's bought something from you. And the person I want to select is a person I will give a brief saying that, hey, so this disgruntled customer is coming. So how will you actually how will you listen to him? How will you then service him, etc. So I can make out, because this is not something through training I can improve him, but I want to see what is his motive, what is his trait. As I said, there are some things which can be trainable, but there are some things which can't be trainable. So it is better to hire a squirrel who can climb a tree as opposed to, teaching a tortoise to climb a tree. Are you getting the differentiation, guys? Huh?
Yes.
So role play is a very powerful tool. You have to be very clear, give a brief when you are building those exercises, and you can actually bring that out for any kind of competencies. Okay. Now, case studies, Okay. When you do a case study, typically what are the kind of competencies you can actually assess or evaluate? I'm sure all of you went through case study when you have to do an MBA exam or whatever. Or
Critical thinking.
Absolutely. Critical thinking, business when presentation
Reasoning.
skills, how you present,
Business acumen,
comprehension. Because if you read, you have to comprehend also.
presentation,
Problem solving,
comprehension.
right? Problem
Yeah.
solving. So there are a lot of things. So case studies are also a very useful tool and technique.
Yeah, basically they are business related, studies to assess your acumen in terms of that function. Most of the time,
interview simulation. There are very many kind of interviews. Now, for example, HR business partner. If Ninu is a HR business partner, or even Anish was as a HR business partner, what is this HR business partner supposed to be doing end to end of the vertical, all employee life cycle? He has to take care, absorb everything. So what happens? His stress levels has to be very high. So therefore, I can give a stress interview. I want to see, does this person have some tolerance, or he also gets, outbursts. How is he able to manage when there's a lot of pressure? Can he take pressure? So there are many kinds of interviews. You can do simulations, okay, and test for the kind of competences required, okay. So it's not just saying, okay, fine, an interview where you are just taking the resume and asking questions, whatever is in the resume. It doesn't speak so much because it's all there, right? Okay. Presentations and report writing. What kind of competences do you think we can assess or evaluate here?
1 second, ma'am. Going back to interview simulations. So is it about asking questions, to understand more about the person? Is that what interview simulation is?
When you are simulating, understand this word simulation, which HR people, we use a lot, simulation. What does simulation mean? Simulation means trying to actually create a situation which is possible in a work situation. Got it? Okay. So when I'm not doing a role play or something, I can probably do it in an interview simulation. Maybe I can do some hypothetical simulation. What if this is a kind of a scenario and how are you going to go about? Right?
Yes.
I will give some 50% data, 50% I will not, and then I will say, how are you going to go about? For example, I can also say, if I'm going to take you for an HR business partner, I'm telling you this happened really in my case. So one of the business, in one of the vertical businesses, so these people came up to me and said, this manager who's taking care of it was asking his team people to massage his head. And he would ask his lady workers to bring good food and all that. So it came up as a, harassment and all kinds of things. I said, okay, go do an inquiry and things like that. Now, such cases are very common, let me tell you, in a BPO or a KPO, etc., etc. Okay. Now, how will you deal with it? But you don't know. These are the things which they have come up with. You have to do fact finding. No? First of all, you have to do fact finding, whether it is authentic, true, or maybe this, the subordinates are trying to actually be smart. Sometimes the lady, let me tell you, all is not very truthful. Even the lady subordinates can also, try twist things and put up something and accuse the male bosses also. So I need to first of all establish the authenticity of all this data. So what happens? I can give such cases if this is HR business partner. Are we going to deal with such cases? Because first level of escalation will be they will all come to the HR business partner who's taking care of that vertical, right? So yes. I can simulate and say, okay, in such cases, what will you do? Right? Okay. Or for example, I'm so sorry, there's a lot of harassment between girls and boys. Sir. I keep getting all that stuff. So how do you do that? How do you take it? How do you manage to do it? The HR business partner's role is to really do all these things. No?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Nirmala, one more thing, it's my personal observation, and I do observe a lot. The waiting time when the candidates are waiting for the interview, right? Just extend the interview time by 15-20 minutes or half an hour extra, and you observe the behavior of the people. You can find out, some people will be really hyper, right? Some would be cool, okay, fine, some would be interacting with the people, some would be sitting in isolation, some would be busy with their calls, some would be trying to assess the environment of the organization, looking into the certain posters or magazines or booklets lying over there and try to gather more information about the organization. So see, different behaviors, coming out. So you can make an assessment as to who is really keen and trying to understand the organization more before coming for the interview.
You gave me a very good lead. I'll tell you what actually happened. So I was in the panel for recruiting a lot of people. So we were in the HSBC. So you know what HSBC does? You have a very big TV screen, all right? And so it throws up all HSBC information. And you also have a lot of periodicals in the waiting room. Now there's a person who is watching actually when candidates come into the waiting area, just like what Vilma said, stay them back. This is What do they do in the waiting area? Now, there are books. So, are these candidates wanting to know more about my organization? Are they going to look at all this and then read something in the periodicals? So my typical first question would be, what do you know about HSBC? Some of them will not go to the site, forget it, no time. But not even see those hard figures which are all the time coming in, they throw up those figures on the TV. Some periodicals kept of HSBC magazines. So that also gives you, then they will say, hey, I'm very interested in joining your org. Why do you want to join my organization? I want to join your organization because it's a great organization. Why is it great organization? You don't know much. Is it because we do so much of things? You don't know what to do. No hard facts. Are you getting me now? Huh? So it's very interesting, You want to join because it's a great company. But then what do you know about my company? Do you know what we do? What is the turnover? What is that? Have we expanded? What kind of a career planning we have? Don't know anything. Right? So these are some of the things. Coming to presentation and report writing. Well, presentation, very important. It will also help you to know your communication, both in terms of writing and also in terms of, because when you present, you also obviously have to write something. So both in terms of, verbal communication skills, writing communication skills, and especially report writing. Because say, for example, I'm in the HR legal. I have to write a lot of domestic inquiries, etc., where the focus is more on report writing and presenting it to the committees. Then I need those as core skills. So I need to test them as well. I can't say, okay, fine, do you know report writing? Yes, I know. But you have to give them evaluate them by giving them some kind of a report and how will you present? Or if these are the few facts, please create a report, that kind of thing. Now at a group level, leaderless group discussions. Why do we have sometimes? Can you call back? When did you have leaderless group discussions? Guys, shall I tell you? All the management institutes I was a panel on. Popular group discussion. No? And in those 10 students or 15 students, people would under the impression that if I shout loudly or if I cut the other person, then I'm supposed to be a leader. No? But suddenly, then there will be a woman who will say, okay, guys, I think we've really talked enough. Can we actually now say, take a call on writing, spending 2-3 minutes, writing down all the points for or against, and then speak about it one after another. So what happens in leaderless group discussions? You will actually see people, how do they emerge as leaders? How are they able to actually, take the discussion forward? It is not, the leader is not the one who is going to shout loudly or who is going to try and say, okay, no, I have to maximum amount of time I have spoken. No, it is not that. Okay. So a lot of things come out. Easier team member, a lot of things actually emerge there. And business games, you can have many kinds of games to test a lot of skills, strategic skills, acumen, business acumen, analytical skills, logical thinking, etc. Social events. This is also a tool and technique. Have you heard of social event as a tool or a technique? Any of you?
No, not as a tool.
Let me tell you guys.
No.
Throwing parties, assess your people.
It's a very common thing. When you hire senior people, they invite you for a social event. Why? Because the senior top management has a lot of external stakeholders. Now, how are you going to conduct yourself? So there will be observers who will observe right from the time you have entered to the time you have left. How are you managing? How do you go about? So everything is observed. Okay? So social events are very, very common when you are hiring top management people. Now, psychometric tests. You will go through a FIROB. Wilma will send you a FIROB instrument and I will give you a report on your own FIROB. Now, this is a very interesting, FIROB is a very interesting psychometric test. It helps you to understand not only yourself, but also how are you able to deal with other people, which is called interpersonal skills, and especially on 3 areas. That is, how much of inclusion means, how much you want to be a part of the team. So do you get it or you don't get it? Okay, then how much of control you want. So how much do you get it and how much you don't get, and how much of power. So this is a very interesting tool, Fireobi. You all will be doing it. Belvin helps you to understand what kind of a team role you are. MBTI, I don't know how many of you are aware of it. It helps you to understand your personality in terms of introvertism and extrovertism. In the sense, how extrovert you are and introvert you are. 16PF is called the personality factors. It helps you to understand what are your personality factors. And Thomas disc profiling is also a very nice, interesting psychometric tool which helps you to understand your disc profile in terms of, again, your leadership, your inclusion, control, etc. So these are some of the standardized, validated, reliable psychometric tests. So what have we done? We have first, I'm teaching you in a very deductive way. I took you through, Wilma also talked about an assessment center. I took you through a selection board saying assessment center is what is a place or a procedure where you are conducting many tests, okay, on employees, on candidates, to understand, to evaluate and assess whether they are fit for a particular role or not. Okay, assessing. So assessment center could be for selecting. When you are assessing people for selection, it's called an assessment center. And when you are doing it internally to assess people whether they have the right kind of competency level so that you can train them and push them further for promotion, it's called a development center. Okay, so I'm sure you heard of something called assessment center and development centers. Now let us just go through what are the purposes or how do you use assessment centers. I told you about selection. Then I told you that we are actually assessing the competencies and selecting the person, or we are assessing the competencies to develop and train the person. Okay. Now, the purpose of using assessment centers is also because you are eliminating subjectivity by using multiple tests. All right. You are also reducing your training costs because you are trying to select the right person. All right. You are also increasing the productivity because you are actually hiring the best person. So therefore, his readiness is very high. You are also using it for identifying the training needs and make it a part of the IDP. That is developmental, internal development programs. I'm not wanting to give a lot of theory which you can read, guys. Okay, but I want to teach you now. This will be an important thing. We talked about the various techniques. Now, just to reiterate what kind of competencies it will test. In trade, we talked about problem analysis, planning, prioritization. Ninu mentioned about prioritization, delegation, etc. Okay. Written exercises, articulation, assertiveness, clarity of thoughts. These are some of the competencies which will be tested. Role plays, fact finding, decision making, negotiation, conflict management, leadership, verbal, non-verbal communication, interpersonal skills, flexibility, all this. Okay. Now, group exercises, they could be leaderless, they could be outbound, they could be various kinds of group exercise which will actually test people in what? Leadership skills, communication skills, teamwork, problem solving, then creativity, organizing, motivation, etc. Social events. So social events actually, they assess the real side. How do you actually behave when, you are in a kind of a social event? Then I talked about the interviews, then case studies and games. One question to you. If I have to test creativity, what kind of a tool will you use? If Google is an organization which has its core value as creativity, I have to select people with high amount of creativity. What kind of a tool will you have? Just think innovatively, both of you. You can discuss each other.
Give them a situation and
maybe
done in that situation.
Think for a minute. Both of you can think for a minute and give me a response. Very interesting. Creativity and imagination. Not just interview method. Anything. Think about it. How will you assess? Does this person have creativity?
we give certain tasks to him, and then this we'll observe out of it. That's it. Definitely, we will come to know whether he's
very
creative
nice
or not.
task. Ninu, what would you say, Ninu?
I think it's close to problem solving. What can you think of to solve that problem? That shows, in what ways.
Okay, so two things. So one is you can either give a situation, a problem, and how will he think out of the box? That's one. Also, typically, you can also give him an exercise saying, certain things you can give a pins and a board and thing and say, hey, you have to create a tower. It should stand. It should be this. So let us see. You will give staples. So, a typical exercise, a task kind of a thing. So let's see, how this team is going to kind of make this tower. And it's a group exercise, so that you also want to see how do they help each other in doing it. Okay. Do they support each other in doing that, or do they not support each other? So these are things, because sometimes you need collaboration. So you want to test. These are something traits, So definitely just by asking question, you will not be able to tell. So now are you very clear in terms of when I'm saying assessment center, it starts with you have to have what? Competencies, no? Clearly defined competencies. Clearly defined competencies for that position or role for which you are recruiting. Got it? Second,
Yes.
you will need to have what are the tools and techniques I'm going to use. And then you have to have observers or assessors who will observe. So typically what happens, I will test this. All these are psychometric tests. Okay. Yeah. So,
Vinima, I have one small question.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to clear the 2 slides back, but no need to go back. Specific, I will ask question. Based on introvert and extrovert, what just now we have discussed, no? So I have certain needs some clarity. Let us say somebody is introvert and he's be a leader of the department, or he's very senior leader. So in that case, whether it is going to be a right fit for the job, or we have to think on that. People should be more extruder, they will be more successful leader.
Anish, it's like this. You have somebody, a very senior person. Now you realize you did an MBTI and you realize that he is an introvert person. So when he knows that he is introvert, but there is some amount of it where he has to be, dealing with a lot of external stakeholders. So therefore, he has to increase extrovertism. Then once you know that you are introvert, because you want to ensure that you are very effective in your role, you can actually then help yourself by becoming a little more extrovertism. It doesn't mean that you either quit, but if you have not recruited, it's always nice to check for that personality and see what amount of introvertism, extrovertism. But you cannot then ask him to leave, right? But why do we get MBTI
Definitely not.
people? Because once you know it, then you can always improve. For example, a sales manager or a marketing manager, you found that this guy is actually in an MBTI quotient is a lot introvert, but his job itself is to be extrovert. So he can help himself by coming out of it, improving upon himself. That's how we help him. Psychometric tests are tests to understand and know yourself where you are, and then from there improve upon yourself. Okay.
Understood.
Yeah.
But if choice has been given, at the time of selection, it is always
It's
better
always
we
better
should
to
select who is more
look at it.
extruder.
Select for the right person,
Right,
right
no?
fit.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Understood.
Like a
Understood.
PR,
Thank you.
public relation officer. Even if he tries his
Yeah, he
best
has
and
to be
he's a very
extruder.
shy and introverted person, he will not be able to do very well. Right? Yeah.
I agree.
Now, how do we go about? What
Thank
are the steps for assessment centers? Now, I want to check with Neenu and you. Have you been able to get the pulse or the feel of assessment center, what it means? Have you been able to get what it is? Okay.
Yes.
So, having got an understanding of assessment center, how do we go about? Step 1. What is it?
Define the competencies.
Very important. You need that, right? Creating the competency map. Creating the competency map for that role for which you want to create an assessment center. Okay? 2. Then you have to do something called assessment matrix. Assessment matrix is nothing but I'll just show you that grid where you will say, okay, if these are the competencies, what are the tools and techniques I'm using to evaluate? Then 3. Then you may have that, but if you don't have indicators for the competency, then how will you assess and say, this person was at this bar 2, this person was at level 3. So you need to have behavioral indicators. Okay. Then 4th is you will have people who are called assessors who will actually evaluate them. So they need to be trained. They need to understand what are the competencies, what are the indicators, because only when they know and they are on the same page, then they are able to then do that without much subjectivity. Then you need to create a schedule. Now let me just show you. When we are talking about a competency in the earlier sessions, we started with what we call it as what? Role description, right? Job description. And then when you're talking about competencies, we talked about functional competencies, right? Which are what? At a knowledge level and at a skill level. So when we do at a knowledge level and a skill level, they are called what? We do these functional technical competencies through something called job element analysis, right? How do you identify functional competencies of knowledge and skill? What is the technique we use? Anybody? Neenu or Anish? What is that we use? To identify functional competencies, which are knowledge and skill.
Through the
What
job
is
description.
Huh?
Through the job description, job analysis.
No. There's a typical name for it. It's called job element analysis or task element analysis. Through that, you did that exercise called knowledge and skill. But when we do behavioral, it is called competency map. Through competency map. Got it? Where we do bars. Got it? Now, when we talk about, so you need to have all this because you want to assess them, no? Now, what is this? As mentioned, step 1, competency map. Step 2, assessment matrix. So what is an assessment matrix? It gives you a table where you are listing out vertically all the competencies and horizontally all the tools and techniques which are going to assess. So I talked about, when we're talking about an assessment center matrix, can you tell me what we were talking about? Just want to see whether you have heard. So in matrix, what is important? What are we looking at? We're looking at list of competencies, right? And then what else are we looking at? A, what is that we need to assess and how do we get to know competencies? And then how are we going to assess? How do we get to know? How do we do that? Through tools and techniques. So here we are using in-tray presentation, OBT, role play, case study. I want to quickly give you one exercise here itself. You can do it. can you see the list of competencies? We are recruiting a customer care champion. Okay, what is he called? Customer care champion executive. If you have seen, there is a document also. Okay, there's a description of this document. So now they want to hire a customer care champion with these competencies. What? Communication, customer focus, flexibility, resilience, problem solving, achievement orientation, and teamwork. Okay. Now, if you go through all your 6 competencies which Vilma has sent, they give you the definition. They also give you the indicators. Now, we want to open up into breakout room. I want you to use that job description of the customer care champion. I want you to use the behavioral indicators given to you. If you have noticed, for everything, communication skills or customer focus, there is a definition. Like for example, if you open your attachment, communication, the ability to communicate effectively, both written and verbal form. It's clearly given. These are the things which you have. Then there are indicators also. What are the behavior indicators? He has to be warm, courteous, positive, speak in a language the customer wishes to speak, ask probing questions. So everything is given. I want you both spend time. The first step 1 is just to list out the exercises or tools which you will use to assess this. And every tool should assess at least 2 competencies. Did you get me what I asked you for? Very clear? Or you can do it individually. I leave it to you. Or both of you together.
Okay.
Ninu,
So
did you get me? Did you understand what I'm asking you to do? Anish, tell me what I asked you to do. Or Ninu, you tell me.
No, ma'am, I need some clarification.
Tell me.
For a customer champion executive for Virgin Mobile.
Right.
Okay. So communication skills.
If you read, that's why I'll now give you a small break. First of all, I want you to read the job description for the customer service champion of Virgin Mobile. Okay. If you read the job description, you will see that how Virgin Mobile, to differentiate, to create that competitive advantage, the focus is so much on these things like innovation, brilliant customer service, etc., etc. Okay. Now this is your job description. All right. Now for you to do it easily within the time period we have, I've also listed out who is a good Virgin fit. Got it? Huh? So I've given you 6 competencies. Now there are 1,000 people who are coming. I want to create an assessment center so that I can have the best person. Got it? Select the right kind of a person. So my simple thing for you is, what is the activity? List out the tools and techniques or exercises you will use to assess these competencies. Simple. Did you get what I am asking you to do? Now I want you to tell me.
Yeah, so if we have to assess communication skill, what are the tools we will use? This is what.
Right. If you assess
and the same thing with the rest of the competency.
Right. So horizontally, write down those activities you will do, or those exercises you will do, or those psychometric tests or techniques. What will you use to assess or evaluate in the candidates for these competencies? Nino, now is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Huh? Clear?
Yeah.
I could also do one thing. No? I can just ask him interviews, but I feel that I cannot get the right person. So I want to go through an assessment center process. So what I said, assessment center gives you the opportunity to create much more tools and techniques so that I can evaluate the person and get more, data out of the candidate. Got it?
Yeah.
By observing him when he is actually doing all these activities. Okay? Any questions? Please shoot. And we can take a small break. And 3:55, and we can come back and then do this exercise. We'll do it together. So welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Is Nino back?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Yeah. So to understand this, the core of assessment center or the heart of assessment center, which is actually called the assessment center matrix. Okay, what I want you all to do as an example, you have the job description for customer care champion executive, right, of Virgin Mobile. It's a real life case where we have done this work. Now you also have the definitions and the behavioral indicators. If you see in your attachment, those 6 or 7 competencies and the behavioral indicators. Okay, you need to look at all of them and then list out the exercises or list out the tools. I will also open up that list of exercises and write them horizontally as to what exercise will you be using to assess which competency. So therefore, it should look like this. Okay. So when you do that, I have only given you this. So now you need to write these exercises and then say, for example, in tray, then put an into mark or a cross mark saying my in tray will assess service orientation, planning and prioritization. My presentation will assess analytical skills and oral communication. Okay, so every exercise you put here should assess 2 competencies. Typically, it is 2 or 3, not beyond that. Okay, or sometimes it has also 4, because it's very important that when you are assessing, you should have at least every exercise so that, like for example, when assessors are observing, they're able to get more data. And when they collect data, classify it, they're able to say that, hey, this person in this competency, he's at level 1 or level 2 or level 3. Okay?
Okay.
So I will give you about 10 minutes to 15 minutes. I want both of you to share, or quickly you can do a matrix like this and like this, what I showed you. I'm sure in an Excel sheet you can just work out like this. And okay, put an Excel, put all your competencies there, and then take one, then start writing the exercises horizontally so that you have a understanding. If you want me to put out the list of exercises, I can put them out for you. You want that also?
No, it's okay. I think
you have an idea, right?
Let us try. Let us try. Yeah.
So if you want me to put these exercises, which are typically here.
No, that attachment is there. Okay. You don't let us try.
This one and this one. You want me to put like that? Okay. Now I'll leave. So I will be out of the, I'll stop the video so that I'm hearing what you're doing.
Okay.
Anis, are you sharing the Excel?
Yes, I'm trying to do that only. Yes, I'm making one Excel.
Should I stop sharing so that you can share your Excel?
Yeah.
I think otherwise you can't. Yeah. Okay. Otherwise you can't share your Excel. I purposely put my video off because my presence can actually then for you to openly communicate and do your work. And I want you to be open and you can ask me. I'm here listening and hearing your discussion as well. Please feel free to ask me if you have any clarifications.
No, I'm sharing my screen, then we can just do it. Able to see?
Not yet.
What happened?
Yes, I can see the screen now.
I'm not able to see it. It is visible?
Yes, I can see the screen now. Yes, I can see the sheet.
Okay. Okay, no issue. See, first we'll take communication. And in communication, I believe the tool what we have to use it, role play will work there.
So I will also give you a time frame. In 2 days time, you need to go through these assessment centers and create your development reports. I will create your assessment reports. Okay. I'm just putting a time frame also. Why do you think I put a time frame? Obviously that, so you have to ensure that all your tests are done and how, okay? So I'm just doing that.
So Anis, for communication, should we start with a group discussion first?
Yeah, but in that list, assessment step, there was no group discussion tool available. The tools are Intray. So we have to write Intray here, I believe. Intray, the group discussion will happen, right? Intray, then presentation skill. Intray, presentation skill, OBT, role play, and case study. A case study. These are the 5 tools are there.
Okay.
So I think group discussion is the basic thing to know the communication. But in Tray, there are 9 roles. No? Yeah, we can write in Tray, and our intention is group discussion. We'll get clarity from her.
Yeah.
And thereafter, role play also will require for communication.
Yes.
Then how presentation skill, that also require, no?
Yes, presentation skills also.
This much is okay for this. Then number 2 was customer focus, no?
When you're talking about customer focus, please open your customer focus attachment and then read what the definition says. Ability to identify and meet customer needs and provide solutions that exceed their expectations. Then what are the indicators? Identify and match customers' needs, willing to take ownership, personal ownership
of
customer problems. So read everything Then think of an exercise which will capture generally things. Okay?
Yes.
Right. So,
I think
Neenu,
simulation.
you are able to see my screen yet, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Interview simulation, can we use that, Anis?
Simulation.
Because
Customer focus.
we want to see if this person is really able to connect with the customers and wanting to help, understand the
let's
needs,
see.
ask
We'll
the
take it.
right questions.
But here what the indicators are: identify and match customer need, willing to take personal ownership of customer problem, show interest in the customer and evidence of respecting customer, non-judgmental, strive to treat every customer as an individual. He may be more empathetic guy. Empathy.
Can I take a minute with you all, guys? Can I take a minute with
please.
you? Yeah.
Yes.
Because both of you want to go and also try this out. Now, for example, customer focus is the competency which you have said mapped, saying that it's very important. Okay. Now you have indicators like identify and match customer needs, willing to take personal ownership, or shows interest in the customer and evidence of respecting, or aims to resolve the customer inquiry without handoff, things like that. All these list of 10 things. Now you might wonder that under the customer focus, where have you come? How did they come out with all these indicators? Okay. Now, typically when you're doing a competency mapping, from where is this? Okay.
No, from my side.
No problem. No problem. Typically, when you're doing a competency mapping, what do? After having identified customer focus, then you would actually talk to a top performer. Okay, saying that, when you have a customer problem, you want to now write for focus. How does this please give us a situation, a high point or a critical incident. How did you deal with it and all that? Now, after having written down everything verbatim, whatever he said, then I will analyze that entire document and start coding and classifying. And then I will come to this conclusion from that top performers action, saying that these are the things which are needed to say that I have demonstrated customer focus. Got it? This is not out of abstract. This is out of when you do competency mapping. That's how then it becomes very contextual, in the sense that you go, you interview these top performers, you do a BEI. I'll be teaching you BEI, behavioral event interview. You look at events wherein they have performed well, which will showcase the customer focus. What did they do? How did they do? It's like a story you will find out. And then you pick out these behaviors, these indicators from that. Got it? Because all of you want to go back and do, no? That's where I want to confirm. Okay, guys? Very clear?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Welcome.
See, customer focus, Neenu, what I would like to suggest is the person should be more empathetic, fact-finding solution provider, right?
Yes.
And very, very keen in listening. He should listen first. Otherwise, most of the time we see that people are very eager to answer.
Yes.
So this four quality, which role play will be. Can we take role play also here? If we can give one situation to him.
Yes, I think role play also.
Just see that how do he react.
Yeah.
Customer focus, role play, simulation. OBT, what is the meaning of OBT, full form? I'm not able to capture it. She told right now.
Which one, guys? You had a clarification?
OBT. Yeah, OBT, the one tool is there, na OBT.
You want some OBT is outbound training?
Outbound training.
Okay, outbound training. Okay. Understood.
Sometimes you want to take them out, test out everything you do outbound.
Okay, outbound training. Customer focus, simulation, role play. How do we judge empathy of this gentleman? Because what I believe is the person who will be dealing with this, who will be having this function, should be more empathized.
Yeah.
Fact finding, very keen to how which tool will help us. Presentation will help, I believe. He should be able to take the right data and then able to convince customer, or from customer he should take the right data and able to convince manufacturing team or the person who produce, right? So presentation skill is so important. That also we have to judge.
Yeah.
Let's see what will come out. Something different we have to find here. Communication, group discussion, role play, presentation skills.
Or shall we go through all of it?
Social event. Will at least one by one use customer focus.
Shall we go through everything first and then see?
Acha, from top?
Yeah, so communication is done. We have done customer focus also. Next is achievement and results.
Yeah.
Takes ownership, seeks help.
The achievements and results, the willingness to meet and exceed the individual, team and corporate targets. Okay, so he should be a team player and team and corporate, good in communication, then only he will do, and go and get it done attitude. These are the three things majorly coming out in definition itself.
Yeah.
And apart from that, assessment indicators are demonstrate goal setting to achieve targets and is able to provide a criteria to measure their result. So that is takes ownership. Okay. Seek help where necessary in delivering target. Want to continuously improve customer service, performance and quality. Organize themselves for efficient working. Has a range of tactics to achieve an end result. Use words that indicate tendency and preservation. Use plan and time frames. He should be good planner, executor also. Suggest ways of improving performance and quality. He should be good mentor coaching also. Communicate action to be taken and any follow-up required. Proactively offer information. So he should have 4 vision also. Okay. In tray can be put. In tray there is a 9 role assessment can be done, na?
In 9 different areas.
Yeah, 9 different dimensions. Yeah, so most of the thing will cover in tray. And apart from that, something we wanted to put there is presentation skill will also come in tray. Let's see. We'll go to next, and again we'll come back to this.
Yeah. Can we do psychometric test for this one? Because he needs to set targets and be willing to, so he needs to take the lead, right? So shouldn't we check if he has that in his personality?
We'll see. Flexibility. The ability to maintain performance level and respond positively in an environment of continuous change. He should be change management, right? Change manager. That was the thing. Assessment indicators make themselves available to others. Willing to change their ideas and see merits in different points of view. Generate ideas for service and process improvement. Adapt to a new situation, for example, adapt to changing work requirements. Shifts and breaks. Able to multitask without losing effectiveness. Adapt to change customer circumstances. Recognize that business needs come first. Want to learn from others. Prepare to respond to other views. Accept and learn from mistakes. Able to laugh at oneself. I think group discussion will also help here.
Yes.
One tool. So most of the thing, whether sorry. So this point number 5 to 11, most of the thing will come out from the JD, group discussion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then this initial point from where it will come, make themselves available to others, willing to role play. No, not role play will be the one particular action. Can you do case study also? There also we can judge this first 1, 2, 3, 4.
Changing their
No,
ideas.
but
Yeah.
role case study.
To see merits in different points of view, be willing to unlearn, do things differently. I think that, yeah, all that can come from case study. Generate ideas for service and process improvement.
Shall we take that?
Yes, yes, let's put case study. Resilience. I think for resilience, maybe role play. Respond calmly to insults or unfair remarks and remains composed.
That will come easily there. Right fit test. Role play, na?
Yeah, role play.
What else?
Problem solving.
Can you take the
next.
psycho test for him also?
Yes, maybe. Yeah.
You know, the test will
Yeah.
also give us some input.
Yes.
What kind of person is? What is left out? Problem solving and decision making. Problem solving, decision making. So definitely case study will work here, right?
Yes.
Ability to logical analysis. The psychometric test will also help, just to know his logics. Aptitude test will work here, aptitude test, but it is not there, right? In list. We take some time aptitude test also, na, for logical thinking.
Yes.
And numerical. Confidently providing solution through effective decision making. Decision making. So again, group discussion will help here.
Yeah, I think
Time
case study
management, all
also,
this.
decision making,
Yeah.
analyze problems. So maybe case study.
Study, then something else we tell, no? We told case study, and what was that? This test, aptitude test or psychometric test will give logical pattern. I don't think so, no?
Not sure.
Logical, not sure. Psychometric test normally give indicators of behavior. So logical, that we have to check with her only. Aptitude test will the better or psychometric test? I don't know. Some confusion is there. Recognize, establish the critical issues, can troubleshoot and evaluate option to solve the problem. Problem solving. Problem solving will sit where? BI interview. Oh, behavioral interview also will help us, no? And these 2-3 cases,
Yes, it should.
proactive and anticipate problem, able to resolve problem and make the correct decision. Decision making, how we will judge. Identify alternative structures and control. Sorry, it's too fast. Build on the ideas. No, it is something else. No.
The last one is teamwork.
Yeah. No, we have to take one more here. Only we wrote one case study. What else? Which test will help us here? Problem solving. JD. Discussion. Problem solving case study is right tool.
Shall we do teamwork and come back to this then?
Yeah. An individual who can positively contribute to the establishment and development of internal and external relationships for the benefit of the team, department, and engine mobile. Assessment indicators demonstrate sensitivity when dealing with colleagues. So outbound training is better, I think, OBT here. Support others, contribute the team. OBT will work. Allow team to take final decision, recognize the effect they have on others, give positive feedback and take initiative to offer suggestion on this, offer ideas and suggestions to help support, move the team forward. Through interview also we can judge this following 3, 6, 7, 8.
Sorry, what? 6, 7, 8?
6, 7, 8. Can we identify through behavioral interview?
Yes, the effect allows the team to take the final decision.
Or something else. We have 5 tools only, right? Interest, presentation skill, OBT, role.
We can do psychometric test or the personality factors. So I think, yeah, some sort of psychometric test, yes, to understand if it's a team player and all that.
Okay. Teamwork. OBT. That is okay. Anything left out? There's the last one only, no? Okay. Now we have to see one test for this. I will take the problem solving and decision making. Which will aptitude test. Problem solving. इसको role play नहीं दिया है ना? Can we give role play also here? But any typical situation we can give so, but it will not come like that.
Problem solving and
Role play will be okay?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let's put role play.
Right, no? Let's see. It is 2 to test. It is done.
Ma'am, we are done.
Yeah. Okay, let me see now. All right. So, who's going to present? Tell me. Yeah. Nino?
You can see my screen.
Tell me. So, what are the 6 competencies you are assessing?
Communication, customer focus, AR, flexibility, resilience, and problem solving and development, teamwork.
AR is
Hello.
What is
Sorry,
AR,
ma'am?
Anish?
Achievement and results.
Yeah, achievement and results.
Achievement and result.
Okay. Now you said you are you want to create an assessment center to assess these 6 competencies in your customer executive champion. Okay, customer champion.
Yeah.
Now, what you need to do is above the communication. I want you to write all the tests you are planning to do horizontally. Okay. First thing is what you do. Insert one line. Now,
oh, we will change. Okay. Give me 1 minute.
when we say matrix, so that's what is a matrix. Okay.
Yeah. You want in that fashion what you show us.
Then after you do that,
right? No.
Then just no, horizontally write everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So write in tray. Then in D column write role play. Then what is this pre-skill?
Presentation skill.
Okay, presentation skills. Then you have written simulation, right? Simulation. Then write group discussion. Then write case study. Then write OBT. Then write psychometric. Then write case studies in psychometric. Intray, or you have already written?
Intray I took.
Yeah, you have written. Group discussion you have taken? Yes, you have taken.
Yeah.
Role play you have taken? Role play you have taken. Simulation you have taken? Yes. So you have taken all of them? All? Okay. Now take Intray and put a cross mark as to which competencies is going to assess.
Okay.
So cross
This
mark
was.
under in-tray. For communication, we'll put cross mark for in-tray and role play and presentation skill.
Role play also we took for, no?
Yes.
Here I'm letting you both work on it so that yeah.
Customer. This we took.
Simulation, role play, and presentation skills. For simulation, you have put role play and for presentation skills. Yeah. For AR,
AR psychometric test. Here it will go.
yes. GD and case
GD will go
study.
here. Case study will go here.
Yes. Role play and
Role
psychometric.
play. Psychometric test will go here. Role play. Case study.
Problem solving is case study and role play. So role play and case study.
Teamwork.
Teamwork,
OBT.
OPT, and psychometric test. Yeah, the last two.
Done.
Okay. All right. Great job done. All right. So you have listed in-tray, role play, presentation skills, simulation, group discussion, case study, outbound training, psychometric tests. Okay. Now, typically on the ground, when in reality, when you are conducting an assessment center, there are a few things to keep in mind. Okay. A, time. Because I don't have all the time in the world. Huh? So, as discussed, and we'll say, okay, fine. In 2 days, I need to finish this assessment center. All right. 2. Then budgets. And 3, I have to complete the reports. Now, so if time be a very, very critical component, you have to look at, will I be able to complete all these tests in 2 days' time? For example, OBT.
Understood.
Do you think it is feasible for me to do? Right? Or, for example, you have not written a TAT here. TAT. TAT means I will show the picture, then they will write the story, then it will take almost 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Do I have that kind of a time? So, what is important? What is important to bear in mind? I have to also look at, if I'm using a technique, how much time it's going to take, right? That's important. Now, in tray, yes, it's a very good tool or an exercise. Now, these are communication in tray. Typically, among all these 6 competencies, if I use an in tray, communication, customer focus, flexibility, resilience,
maximum will be covered there.
teamwork, etc. But in tray, typically it's a tool or a technique which is used for a mid-level or a person who's also a boss and who's also a subordinate, because there are few things he will delegate and there are few things he has to do. You getting me? At an entry level, will in-tray be an appropriate tool? Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yeah, understood.
Look at his job description. I gave you job description, na? So will it be an appropriate tool? So now you tell me, should I keep it or should I knock it off?
I already knock it off after listening you.
So knock off in-tray, right? You're getting me, no? Huh? I mean, I want to
Yeah.
give you a logic before I say, hey, this is right, this is wrong. No, I want to tell you the explanation we have.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Role
Absolutely
play.
right. The time
Excellent for customer care executive. Why? I can give what a brief where, on the other hand, I won't even be in person. I will have a person, I will call up on the telephone. So I will play the aggrieved customer or a grieved customer. I have a complaint to file, and you are the customer care, the person who has to be selected, the candidate. Now I'll give a brief and say, hey, now see, there will be a call on from the other side. Now let me know how you will deal with him. So there, in that role play of that customer's thing, I can get communication, because how you will speak everything. I can get even customer focus, right? Because what is his focus? How is he wanting to deal, etc. Then I can also get some amount of flexibility. Think about it. Typically, you have a script, but is this person? Some people, if you know, no, sir, it's like this. This is this. This is this. And he's not even ready to listen to options flexibility. Are you getting me? No?
Yeah.
Have you noticed in your, whether it is a TV, whether it's a mobile problem, whether it's any, think about it, how these customer care executives will, because they have a script and 1, 2, 3, that's how they will. So there is no innovation, there's no flexibility, listening to certain things, right? So we are not talking
Correct.
about any other. You have a fixed job description here. We are only talking with reference to that. And how Virgin Mobile want to differentiate, because they want to have that customer focus so much that they are able to tap even these markets where customer focus was not there. How? Because of flexibility. So you're looking at it. So even flexibility can be done. So excellent role play. You have written communication. To some extent, resilience also, because what happens sometimes, yeah. But what is this here? R&D or P&D? What is this?
Problem solving.
Problem solving and decision
solving.
making.
Okay. So, but typically, what on the ground we do is, we will pick up 2 or 3 of the competencies which have more focus. So, if you were to pick up, like you have put 1, 2, 3, 4. Topmost 3 will be communication skills, customer focus,
Yeah.
to great extent resilience also, right? Or problem solving. You can have problem solving. How does he solve the problem? Okay. Now next, let us go to what is this? Presentation skills. So role play you are already doing. Now presentation will be almost like, so how will you do this presentation skills? Maybe some amount of writing. If there is a, in presentation skills, do you, as per their presentation skills, what is the definition? What is the definition in their presentation skills? Yeah. So how would you, no, I have not said that. No problem. Okay.
No, it is communication actually.
It's just communication, right? Okay. So through the presentation skills exercise, so how will you have this exercise? What kind of an exercise will you have? What kind of an exercise? Will you just give him a topic and ask him to speak, present on it, or what is it?
We can ask him to present on it.
You will ask him to present on a topic. Huh?
Yes.
So when he's presenting on a topic, what are the various things will come out? So will you say role play and presentation is almost closer? Because communication is something you are checking there also. So will you think it's a duplication, or you would like to have this? So that's how you have to look at. Am I having so you can keep it aside first, presentation skills. Now go to simulation. Very important. You can have a business game. You can have, yes, simulation. Yes, customer focus will be tested. Even flexibility can be tested there. Okay. Simulation, only one competency, is it? You can also have a flexibility there. Simulation. You can also have a simulation of a teamwork there, right?
Yeah.
You can create a simulation and see there is something like, broken squares test. So how do they do that? So you can create a simulation there. Group discussion. Now again, tell me, group discussion. You are testing communication 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, group discussion is almost like presentation skills. Group. What are you going to test in group discussion? Tell me.
Group discussion, we come to know is
flexibility and communication.
Yeah, flexibility, communication, leadership qualities, summarizing, problem solving, leading with example. Too many things we can see in group discussion.
Okay, so maybe you can say in this case between presentation skills and group discussion, you could make a choice, right?
Yeah.
Are you getting me?
Yeah.
Now, case study. Do you really need a case study here for a customer care executive to check? You getting me? Huh? Because you are more on the job kind of a competencies here. So here you don't have anywhere business acumen or planning or looking at strategy.
The purpose of
case study is what?
The purpose of keeping case. Yeah, purpose of putting case study here is
problem solving.
We have given. Yeah, we have given him one particular case which we wanted to see whether person is flexible or not, or very adamant, or innovator thinking is there or not. No? Some innovation ideas whether come out to resolve the issue. That was kind of case study we will give him.
So OBT, as I told you,
but if it
obviously,
yeah.
OBT, as I told you, obviously, if you want to finish in 2 days, OBT is definitely ruled out because time consuming. Okay. Yeah. Psychometric tests, all right, you can give one psychometric test to understand. It doesn't take time. It can always be done before he comes, or give it online and he will complete it and you can take the results. Right? Huh? Correct. And as I said, how if you want to give some more tests, TAT, like it takes time. So essentially, now my feedback here is that you have understood the tests or the exercises and what they assess, but the success of an assessment center in terms of choosing the right exercise is saying that, hey, how do I manage time with my exercises? Okay. So therefore, you also have to choose in such a way that a single exercise is not testing too many competencies, or there are too many exercises which is testing the same competency. Got it? What I said? One single exercise testing 4 competencies, or there are too many exercises testing the same competencies. Okay, because then there'll be an overlap. So you want to save on time and also both money. Got it? Okay. So this is your now you can shoot questions, guys. So you have been able to create a matrix only. What does matrix mean? That which competency is being tested by which test. That's it. Now tell me, you had a question, somebody?
Yeah, let's say the communication, customer focus, flexibility also, and teamwork. These are the major competencies for this front executive.
Right.
Can we take one test? Can we take one nearby test which will give me all result of these 4 competencies?
Again, the
so I can save time and budget.
Fundamental principle in assessment center is at least you should have 2 tests which will be assessing at least twice, if not thrice, so that you are able to observe. That you are observe means what? You're going to record the data. How did that person behave? So when you say, can't I have just one single test to assess everything? Then it will be too little data to predict. Got it? Now, in a entry I did this, I will observe. Then in a presentation skill I did. So you are getting more data. Then you are able to then classify and see, hey, exactly where is he in terms of communication or in terms of what achievement results. So it's not a good idea to have all the competencies being, or major 3-4 competencies being evaluated only by one exercise. Okay? Very clear, guys?
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now what is the next thing you need? Because now you have, I'm not sure. Now what you do, then you are preparing a calendar. I mean a schedule, a day planner. Now in a day planner, what are you going to do? So when you're creating an assessment center, you want assessors. Who are assessors? Who will observe? For example, I am the assessment center specialist. I have come, I've understood, defined your competency map. I have then listed out the exercises, and then I have created what this is called assessment matrix. What is this called? What you've done? Assessment matrix. Now you need to create a schedule. At what time which test will be conducted, at what time are you going to give a break, how much time are you going to do this duration, the entire plan. Okay, can I just go to the presentation, guys? If you can just stop sharing this. It's a very good one.
Yeah,
good, you guys are able to do it. Huh? Yeah, can I just go quickly? So now we have to create what we call a schedule. That means really conducting operation that day. So what do I need to do? How many candidates are coming, right? Then how many activities do we have? Then how many rooms are we going to conduct? Then who are the assessors? Means who are the people who are going to observe? Okay, then we have to look at how much of time it's going to take for every activity and also for writing, etc. So what we actually need to do is prepare the timelines and then publish it. In the sense, create that timetable or timeline schedule and then create it. Okay, do I have that? This is what you did, and let me just see if that I have that form. Yeah. Can you see this, guys? Neenu and Anish.
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah.
No problem. These are the competencies, okay? Customer building, etc. And these are your exercises, okay? Then this is your timetable. This is your, now don't look at this. I will tell you what it is. This is your timetable. Now, what does the timetable say? It's a half-day assessment center. It starts at 1 o'clock. 1 to 1:15 is orientation. Okay? Then after that, there is an in-depth interview. Then there is a break. Then there is this presentation. Then there is strategic presentation. Then there is customer meeting presentation, customer meeting. Then there is GRT. Then there is, okay? So this is a schedule. Now, after they have gone through all this, assessors will observe everything on all the competencies and then give a report after the consensus. If there are 3 observers, which are 3 assessors or 4, they will have to get together, discuss, then have a consensus, and the final report will be like this. Can you see this final report?
Yes.
Can anyone just take a give me a idea as to what is it? If this is a visual given to you, what does it mean?
So he's rated above average for customer orientation. Relationship building is good, is highest. average for problem resolution, above average
Excellent.
for
You are there.
interpersonal.
So that means you are really good. In the sense, these are the competencies. This is the rating scale for all the competencies. And after the assessors have observed in various exercises and they have come to a consensus, then they give a rating to the candidate. So they have rated him. Customer orientation is on 4. This is 5. This is then 3. This is then 4 again. And this is the result orientation. This is it. Got it? So here you have. Then this will be matched with what does a successful CRM need, right? This is what the candidate has, and supposing this is what the X candidate has, and this will be matched with what is required. And then I select a person. Got it, guys? Okay?
Yes.
Any questions here? Then I will just tell you. So once you do this, there are some things very, very important for an assessor. What has happened? Yeah. I want to talk about what do these assessors who are evaluating or observing, what do they do? What is their role? Okay. When you are conducting these exercises, the observer has to really, his seating arrangement also has to be in such a way that he is able to observe the participants. Now, if I am putting 10 people for an exercise, now ideally the ratio is that one assessor has to observe 2 people. But sometimes what happens, because it's very expensive, you would say 1:3 or 1:4 also. But ideally, one assessor has to observe only 2 people, because he can't do 4 people. It becomes a little too much. Now, the assessors have to be trained something called, we say, ORS. What is ORS? Nothing but, look at it. Where's my this one? Yeah. Yeah. Observe. O stands for observation. So he has to observe. He has to be like a video camera, observe everything, what he says, what he does, what is his body language, everything. Then record all that. Even if he does not talk, you should write, okay, fine, he has not spoken for a long time. Then you need to classify all those behaviors into different dimensions. Then you need to rate them. Then all the observers then come together and then come to a consensus on every candidate. Now here you may say, when I say consensus, it is not weighted average. Just like, somebody has given 10 and 12 and 13, it is not weighted average. That means I take your ratings and divide it by the number of assessors. No. Here, you really need to then talk about it, saying that, why did you give 3 and why did you give 4? What kind of a behavior has he shown, etc. And okay, fine, maybe then you have to agree to it. And then you take a stand whether it is 3 or 4 on the rating scale. Okay. So that is what is the assessor's role. Now, I wanted to show you this, saying that why assessment center is preferred than any other way of assessing a candidate, because it has what I talked about as very high predictive and validity. That means 63%, as opposed to handwriting or just a resume or other structured interviews, etc. So it has high validity, high reliability, and high predictiveness. Now, when I say validity, what is validity, guys? This one is not working. What is validity? For anything, when you do for a test or a psychometric questionnaire, anything, you have to have validity. What is validity? All of you are HR people, you keep using, huh?
How long it's valid for, or how long the
If a
results
test is
could.
not valid, then it doesn't serve the purpose.
Yes.
What is validity?
Anis, I think your mic is on mute.
Because I want you to, these are very important. Validity, very,
Sorry,
very
I was kept
important.
talking it
And
myself.
assessment centers have high validity. That means Ninu is an assessor, Anish is an assessor. Both of you have assessed me with a certain kind of a tool or an exercise. Got it? You have for a certain competency, say for example, presentation skills. Now your rating should not have a huge deviance from Anish's rating.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If it has, I mean, that means, it has to have some amount of value, whether you have the similar kind of a rating, or so there's two different people using a test on a particular person. That's why we say all these psychometric tests, which are high reliability, high predictability, and validity. Why? You give them at, even if 5 people are giving, the typical scores are there. It's the same scores. So it is called validated. Now, what is reliability?
The test result should be reliable enough.
Is
Because,
it same? Valid and reliability is same?
No.
Ninu,
reliability.
she will weigh herself on one weighing machine. She's 50 kilos. I don't know whether she's 50 kilos. Then she's weighing on another machine. It shows 90 kilos. So what does it mean?
It's not
calibration issue.
Not reliable. Yeah. You don't know whether you're 50 or whether you're 90. That means not dependable. No?
Yeah.
Yes.
So your test, I mean, I'm just giving a very bland example to make you really understand, saying that reliability means dependability. Okay?
Yes.
When you repeat, if you go, or if you are weighing, now it's showing 50, and again, sometime later it's showing another. So when you repeat it also, it should give you the similar kind of a weight. Result. It can be repeated. Yes. That's called reliability. Now, what is predictability?
You have a certain idea of what the results would be like.
So predictability means you can also do statistical analysis. Like, for example, there is one very good statistical analysis, Spearman's correlation. All of you should know that. I don't know. I'll send out a small attachment for you, because we don't have that kind of a time to do correlation and regression. So that means it should be predictable. No? Say, for example, what is predictability? Predictability means, suppose with X number of training programs, an employee can give this much of productivity. If I pump in 10 more training programs, he should increase. Is there a correlation between more number of work, increase of productivity? Like that. Got it? So it should be predictable. So is there first of all a correlation between, if I'm giving this test, am I able to select the right person? Who will be a right person? That means who will be able to perform well on the job. Got it? So typically, yes, organizations, what do they do after running an assessment center, selecting people, etc.? Then again, after 3 months or 6 months, they will look at their performance index on the floor. And then they will correlate the data and see, have they been, if this has been the interview ratings of their assessment centers, has it been a correlation between this rating and the performance rating? Then what happens? Oh, so typically I should actually get a person at this rating so that he's able to perform this. Got it, guys? So there's a little maths to it. So your test should have predictability and reliability. Okay, I've been able to tell you in a very, because that's why I asked you whether you were you have gone through assessment center, etc. Because I wanted you to understand the entire, in a nutshell, in this given time, what is this assessment center all about, and what is the heart of the assessment center. So as you know, just to give you a little, because we're going to get into a quick small exercise now, and we don't have much time. So just wanting to give you a little wrap up about, so we talked about what in assessment center. Step one is you definitely need to have what the competency map for that particular position, right? When you say competency map, you need to have functional competencies and behavioral competencies, right? So once you have your functional competencies and behavioral competencies, then what are you going to do? Then you are actually going to create a process where you first of all eliminate through, it's called a filter mechanism. You eliminate through either having just a telephonic interview or a written exam, etc., which I'm sure all of you have seen by when you have volume, huge numbers. So filtration process, right? Then you actually get only what, 20%, 30%. Now you want to take them through an assessment center. So because you have already reduced that number, you won't take, you won't have assessment center for thousands of people. You have to do a filtration process. Then once you have done that, identify what are those critical competencies which you want to assess for, and then create the tools and techniques and create an assessment matrix. Once you have done that, how are you going to assess for what competencies? Then you'll create a timetable or a schedule, planning how much time, cost, etc. And then train your assessors and then assess them, then document everything and then create reports. Now, if it is an assessment center, you typically don't give a report to them. You just give some kind of a feedback a little. But because you're selecting. But if it is a development center, the process is the same. But here what you're doing is you are doing it internally if you want to promote people or if you want to identify training gaps, etc. So you are giving a full developmental report saying these are the things you need to improve, because if we want to promote you from assistant general managers to maybe general managers, because the GM, general managers require this kind of a thing. So here, these are the gaps. You also use one more thing for internal development center, something like a 360 degrees feedback. Have you heard of that? Because
Yeah.
because you want to understand from different stakeholders, where are they? So you create that and 360 degrees feedback you get, and then give them a developmental report as to what are the areas they are lacking, and then development train them in those things. Okay, so that's called an ACDC center, assessment centers, development centers. Okay. Now, I want you to, there's a very interesting exercise, moon landing exercise. I want both of you to do that. And since you are only two, it can be done quickly. It's a very exciting exercise. Can one of you put that exercise on?
Let me try to do it.
You got it? Vilma sent two
Hold on.
exercises. One is
Yeah.
in tray and the other is moon landing.
I can share, but my mic goes on mute when I do that.
Anish, you want to share that?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. I kept it
There is
on my
something called
desktop.
moon landing.
Yeah, moonlight. Not able to
Or should I
open
ask
actually.
Vilma to share it?
Yeah, I think because it is link actually.
Well, let me just.
Yes, hold on. I will also try from Google.
Yeah, I'm showing it. Okay, I'm actually showing it to you.
I got it.
Both of you have this exercise, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. This is a very interesting exercise, very popular exercise. Okay. You are a member of a space crew scheduled to rendezvous with a mothership. What has happened is on the light surfaced moon. However, due to mechanical difficulties, the ship was forced to land at a spot 200 miles away from that where you had to go. Now, during the re-entry and landing, much of your equipment aboard was damaged. Now, since survival depends on reaching the mothership, you are being cut off from the mothership, okay, and you are away from it from 200 miles. The most critical items available, you need to choose. What is the uh, I mean, goal you need to do? You have certain critical items. Now you have to choose them in order to reach your mothership, which is 200 miles a trip. Now, these are 15 items are listed, okay, which are intact and undamaged after landing. Now, what is your task? You need to rank them on priority of importance so that to allow them to reach the mothership. Now, if you think amongst all the 5 items, by ranking, the highest to 15, number 2 by the second most important, and so on. Now, the first exercise for you is to do your own ranking. All right, there are instructions. You can actually have a look at the instructions. The first thing is you need to create your own. This is it. Now, these are the items, 15 items. You have been separated from the mothership. You need to reach there. Now, priority, what are those things which you will take in terms of priority so that you are able to reach the mothership? Now, if something box of matches is very important to you, most important for your survival, then you write as 1. Or if you think parachute is the second important, write 2. Okay. So I'll give you, say, about 5 minutes. Read that, read instructions, and do your self-ranking first. Okay. Very interesting game. Do your self-ranking. So you have it in front of you, right? So do your self-ranking. I want you to read it again. It's very simple to understand. If you have not understood, just read the case and also the instructions. All that you need to do is that you are stranded somewhere, you have 15 items. Now, for your survival, rank those 15 items in terms of priority. Simple as that.
Shall I show the screenshot?
तो मैं लगा दिया था sharing.
नहीं, एक sample दिखा दूं?
Done. मैं
Yeah,
stop
we'll
sharing.
do that.
Huh?
Let us try to do that. Then we
Yeah,
can have
that's why I'm
reference
not
for
showing
the
things to them.
yeah. Okay.
Anish believes in saying that I don't like to lose. I have to first of all try out before I say hands upar kar diya. I like that attitude. Huh? Are you in Calcutta, Anish? Or
Yeah,
Bombay?
most of the time I come. No, I used to come Calcutta. I have one major unit in Kalyani. So most of the time I visit Calcutta.
Okay.
I stay there in new town. Something is there, no, near to airport. Yeah, it's done.
Done? Done, guys?
Yeah, let's see.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, quickly, I'm going to pull this down. Anish, share your screen. Share your screen. Okay. Now, put your team rating. Both of you discuss and keep putting your team rating. Not getting impacted by what you actually put as an individual ranking. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't get impacted by, no, I put a 1 here. No, for me, I put 1. You together discuss and do your team ranking. Okay? And put that thing up where Anish can also put it up for one of you. I think Nina has challenges. Ninu has challenges, right?
Let me do that. I will do it. Yeah, my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah, simple. You can just read there and just put your ranking here. Both of you discuss and say which one comes one and just put there.
Okay. Oh.
No, you don't. Acha, you are doing okay. That's also good. Put your ranking also quickly. Team ranking means no Anish and no Ninu. Done?
You want to say? Okay, okay. Sorry. Yeah. See, what I did is for oxygen, I have given rating number 1. I don't. What's your?
For oxygen, I have also given 1.
Perfect. And number 2, I have given for signal.
Number 2 for me is Life Raft.
Why don't you do it here on this?
But this is PDF, no? I don't have that. That is why.
Okay.
So otherwise it would be very easy to do.
Hmm.
See, mine is number 2 is signal, which we need for give signal to, if we are 200 meters away, how do we communicate? Or how do we give signal somebody is here or there? So that is why I pick up number 2 at signal.
I have put 2 for Life Raft. So, ma'am, how do we put that on the Excel?
Life raft.
Okay. Vilma will show you just one worked out example. Vilma?
I'm sharing the screen.
I think that will be better, easier. So that, yeah. Anish, can you pull that down so that you can do it at a later point of time also? She will just show you through what it is. Vilma, you will take over? Yeah.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. See, this is how the rating has been done by the individual members. So you both have already done the individual ratings. Now you both as a team now do the rankings in a separate column here. And then you have to find out the difference.
So we can, I will say, sorry, I will tell my mapping at member number 1. Ninu will say
member number 2
his rating. Then we can go for team immediately. So that will be easy because we don't have this Excel sheet. Otherwise, I would have done it.
Okay. Shall I send it?
Yeah. No.
I'm just sending it.
See, Anish, when Vilma sends it, remember you can write Anish's ranking, Ninu ranking, then team ranking. Okay. Now
Correct,
you
correct.
can, then since you are only 2, you can also see your own ranking. Now there is also this NESA ranking. Okay. Now NESA ranking, you may wonder where is it? If you go through your PDF, you will have what is NESA ranking. Few people have actually researched and said, hey, this is the best ranking. Okay, a standard. So now you can see what is the difference between your ranking. You don't have to do it right now. Just, I mean, maybe we'll just explain to you this entire thing and what is this exercise about. So in this NESA, this game, what you do is essentially, why do you play this game? You want to see, when you're saying individual ranking, how do people do their ranking? One. Then when I'm saying team ranking, you're saying, how do people come together and do the team ranking for a task? Now, for example, if Ninu has mentioned for one of the items 2, but you are saying put it as 4, is she willing to sacrifice her ranking and put there as 4? Okay. Sometimes what happens, you are only 2 people, but in a group, there will be a lot of, no, we have to do this. No, because I have this number, you have to have this. So what happens, a person is going to observe how strong you feel, how are you collaborating, etc., etc. Okay. So you do your ranking, then you also do the group ranking. But when you're going to do it at home later on, there are also this NESA rankings. So check the NESA ranking and typically see, you add up your own ranking and see there is also that if you are between this range, you are good. If you are between this range, you are average. If you are between this range, you are poor, etc. Then you can see typically how good you are in trying to prioritize your ranking as well. Okay. So essentially the moon landing, let me just show you that. 1 second. I'll just show you that exercise. So you can see this, right? So this, you are doing individual ranking, then you are also doing a team ranking. Then you are actually looking at what is the kind of a difference you have. Then after that, this is your NESA ranking. Okay. This is what has NESA has ranked. Now, when you're checking out, when you're adding up, if your points are, total points are 25, it's excellent. If they are between 26 and 32, they are good. If they are between 38 and 45, they are average. So if they are between 46 and 55, they are poor. So these are the kind of scores which you can look at once you have done it. So what do they indicate? A, what is your prioritization? How did you prioritize that entire thing? B, how do you work in a team? And then if you have to change your rankings, when it comes to team ranking, are you willing to sacrifice your own ranking and change the ranking? How? So those behaviors are actually observed. So especially you have this exercise when you want to check people for, if you have seen teamwork. Have you seen that? Teamwork. In Virgin Mobile, you saw that, right? Teamwork.
Yeah.
There is also another beautiful exercise called broken squares. Have you heard of broken squares?
No.
No.
That's also a beautiful exercise. It's all about, you heard Nino, it's all about assessing teamwork. So the group task is to have 5 equal squares. Okay. Now all the 5 people are given certain pieces of those squares. Okay. Now when you are doing the game, some people are able to make a square and some people are not able to make a square. But the moment they make their square, oh, I made my square. But you have not achieved your task, because the task is to have 5 equal squares in front of each member. Got it? Then what will happen? You will see that you can't have 5 equal squares unless and until you actually break your square, because the parts of squares are in such a way to share to others, receive from others. Only then you will make, what is the task? 5, not just squares, equal squares. Because Sometimes one person only met square. Okay. Then he'll say, oh, I met by square. Got
Correct.
it? So we want to see the teamwork. Teamwork means helping, giving in, taking. So there are certain conditions in that. You can't speak, you can't pull. Only when somebody gives it, you have to take. So it's a beautiful game. So likewise, this moon landing also is where are you willing to break your own ranking and say, hey, no, the team ranking comes first. So I have to go by what the team has actually, decided to go with the rank. So that is the objective of this moon landing. Okay, guys. So we got you a sense of certain tools like moon landing in basket. You have it, you can do it. Okay, and then we also helped you to design assessment matrix, understanding competencies, and how do you create a matrix. Now Wilma will send you one psychometric test called FireOB. Okay, instructions are there. Fill it in, and then we'll send you a report on that. Okay, guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Have you done FireOB earlier?
No.
No.
Okay, so it will be an interesting disclosure for you. Okay, so this is a
Right.
standardized which has predictability, validity, and reliability. Okay, not like the machine which will show sometimes 50 and it will show sometimes 80. Got it? Okay.
Ninu,
Right.
Ninu, one more thing. For assessing each of the competencies, there are various tools available. Games, basically. Like here you had this moon landing exercise to assess the teamwork. So similarly, you will find other such exercises also. So if you want, you can pick up from the open site.
Oh, okay. Where is it, Wilma?
You can just Google out, exercises for team building, exercises for communication. Likewise, you will find a lot of such exercises.
There is a free download for such exercise.
Yes, yes.
And
So,
today you are at a better age. You don't have to spend money. Just put that. You will get a free download of exercise.
Yes. So you can choose and decide,
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
guys, I know, but it was interesting. Nevertheless, we were able to do it much more, in a very personalized manner. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. Anish was very cooperative, participative. So was Neenu. And I hope you are able to take away something from this session, essentially on assessment centers, your understanding on assessment centers. Okay, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, really, it's thank you very much. And you also took a lot of efforts to make us to understand the core subject, to be very honest, in a very systematic approach.
You are welcome.
Because peaks and beats we know, but this was the really very systematic approach or database approach, and again the reliability and validity is quite high. So I will say on this particular session. So thank you very much for your efforts.
You are
Despite
able
of
to
we
connect
do, you
dots
do the
now.
justice.
You guys are able
Yeah.
to connect dots now.
Yes.
And then see patterns out of it. Okay?
Yeah, ma'am, is there one more session?
Yes, you have a very interesting session called competency-based interview and a behavior event interview.
CBI and DI.
Will help you to understand this. How do you go about doing a behavioral event interviewing? And you will actually doing one or two interviews. So there will be candidates, there will be assessors, that is interviewers, and then there will be observers who will observe and write. Okay? Great, guys.
Perfect.
All the
Great.
best. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Ninu.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mahima.
Thanks,
Thank you
and
very much.
bye.
Bye. Bye.